Yeah, McKennie is so important for this national team, and if he's adding goals, it really, really helps, particularly to solve some questions of where exactly you play him, right? He's a starter for this group. Does he play as the partner for Tyler Adams deeper in the midfield, or can he play as, an attacking-minded midfielder? A different way than like a chance creator. All the things that he's great at, covering ground, box crashing, his intelligence, his aerial prowess, and his ability to link up and find space among these other key attackers. This is exactly the kind of player that the national team needs. And he's a starter. He's in the best form of his life. It's just about where best can he be deployed, and that's going to go a long way in seeing how far this USMNT can go this summer.
I want to hear what our guy Marco Messina has to say, our CBS Sports Serie A correspondent. Of course, Marco, you're always smiling. You're smiling about what Tom just had to say about Weston McKennie. What are your thoughts on how he's been so far this season for Juve?
McKennie's story at Juventus is just incredible to have followed, and Spalletti has really helped him tremendously. And, I just heard what Bogert said about his range and the way that he could play in so many different places. That's exactly the type of football that Spalletti wants to play. If you listen to Spalletti's philosophy, he wants not set formations. He wants players who can interpret space, who could start in one position, but then are smart enough, tactically smart enough to know where they have to go. That's exactly what Weston McKennie is. You look at, you're showing the game against Galatasaray. He started the first leg as a number 9, as a false center forward, right? He ended the game as a fullback, as a left back. So the range that he's had is Spalletti's absolutely obsessed with him, and McKennie has said that he's one of, if not the best coach he's ever had. He said Spalletti has an aura about him that when he explains something to you, he just does it in a way that you could understand. So I think that harmony is there, and probably the best sign is that Juventus have already renewed Spalletti's contract. So what does that mean? That means that McKennie's going to stay at Juventus.
McKennie's trending in the right direction for the U.S., especially as we head towards the World Cup, but Christian Pulisic is not. He started the season so hot, and now he's been sluggish, Marco. What's going on with Pulisic?
It's hard to explain, Lisa. It's weird because if you look at the first half of the season, I think you could argue that he's one of the best players in Serie A. The goal involvement, the most consistent player, all the amazing things that we've been praising Christian about since he's joined Serie A, right, in the past 3 years or so. And now he hasn't scored in 5 months. He hasn't scored in the Serie A. And it feels like it's one of those things that it's hard to put your finger on exactly what it is. The thing that stands out to me is the match against Fiorentina early on in I believe January 10th, January 11th, where he's finding space, he's finding opportunities, he's right in front of the net, and he misses opportunities. And you say, wait a second, we've never seen this Christian before. Christian usually, all right, it's a one-off game. And unfortunately, that has trickled down as well. There's a lot of issues at this Milan side, though, so I don't want to only put it on Christian. He's not playing off of a center forward. He's not really played in the best position. In their last match, or 2 matches ago, he was able to go back to the wing position, and he looked a little bit better, but just didn't have that calmness in front of goal. He dealt with a lot of injuries in that time as well, his ankle, his hamstring, and it's been a weird year for this Milan side, but seeing his dip in the second part of the season certainly has been concerning. And I was reading today's Gazzetta dello Sport, who says not only is it a concern what's happening on the pitch with Christian, also off the pitch. It looked like he was going to renew his contract with Milan. His contract expires 2027, and they're not even talking about it. They're not meeting. Nobody's pushing to try to renew. So hopefully he could score soon. It feels like the goal is coming any week now, and we could silence those doubters, but we have to say that it's not been a good 2026 for Christian.
Marco, what needs to change over the next month for Christian Pulisic? Again, this is some of the worst form. This is the worst form he's been at AC Milan. When the first 15 games of the season, there was legitimate early talk of, hey, could he be the player of the season if he keeps this up? If Milan does well and the train is completely careened off the tracks, what can change on the field over the next few months, over the next few weeks? Other than ball goes in.
I mean, a big game against Juventus. He's always been a big game player. I remember that was a knock on Christian when he first came in, or I would hear the voices, oh yeah, but he doesn't show up in the big game. And then it's not true. You think about what he did to beat Inter last year in the Super Cup. You look at his record against Inter, goals and assists, always turning up against Napoli as well. It just feels like that freedom and that fluidity that Allegri doesn't have in his formation, that it's very set and standard, has not helped him. But I do think it is as simple as the ball going into the back of the net. I really do, because he had the opportunities, he's had the chances. It's probably one of those confident things where once it goes in, you feel like the rest will work out. But once again, he's expected to partner Rafael Leao this week against Milan, and that relationship has been a little bit weird as well. Leao has been subbed off multiple times. He was subbed off in a big game where they have a microphone and they hear what Leao says, and he goes, Christian's playing by himself. He's not passing me the ball. It's always the same thing. Nobody talks about him. Hopefully those are just normal dynamics of a locker room, and Allegri has said, I like this. I like them to be mad because it'll make them play better, but so far we haven't seen that.
Marco, we don't know what's going on with Pulisic. What's going on with Allegri? Because as an outsider looking in, they're second in the table, but we keep hearing reports he's not happy. We hear the owners aren't happy. What is the situation?
It's a weird one because if you look at Milan compared to last year, they're the most improved team in Serie A. They were sitting in 9th place at this point last year, so they have 15 more points. They're in 2nd place. But I think there's this feeling of he has a handbrake on the team a little bit. He continues to play a 3-5-2, and I don't like to get caught up too much in formations because it's more about how you interpret the formations. But the way that Allegri sees football, it's pretty simple. If we don't concede, we have a better chance of winning games, of earning points in football matches and getting back to a top 4 position, which coming into the season, Champions League was their goal. But there's this feeling of you have attacking ability. You don't have to only sit back and wait. And they've been very happy with picking up points in games that they shouldn't have been able to pick up points in. You look at their games against Parma, Cremonese, Udinese, Pisa. These are games you expect them to win in, yet they've picked up so few points. In the big games, they've been amazing because that style is really good at hitting out on a counterattack football. But they haven't found a way. Allegri hasn't found a way to develop this team when they have to play against squads that sit in a low block where you need that creativity. And I wouldn't be surprised at anything that happens. I wouldn't be surprised if Allegri stays because I feel like they just started this project. But then you hear the rumors of the Italian national team or potentially Real Madrid, and you think he could fit those opportunities. So certainly not a good end of the season for Milan, even though they are going to achieve their objective of getting into a top 4 position.
But Marco, isn't that a little bit unfair? Because A, they've achieved their objective, and also they knew his style as a coach when they hired him.
100%.
He's not all of a sudden going to be rocking up and playing a team like Hansi Flick, is he?
Exactly. And I think Allegri, he's really good with big names. He's really good at managing egos and locker rooms. He's been in that position and not giving those tactics to players and constraining them necessarily if he had a team full of champions, right? But the feeling is they played 1 game a week. We have Rabiot coming out saying, physically and mentally, I'm tired. What's going to happen next year when they go into Champions League football? If they play this football in Champions League, it's going to be another embarrassing year for the Serie A team. So it's just a feeling of where they're going to go. With a few signings, you can see things turn around. And I agree, Jeff, we have to have that perspective that getting into a top 4 was a great position. But I think also there's in the back of a lot of our heads that Napoli achieved the Scudetto last year when they had to play 1 game a week. And it's not that they didn't go do well in the big games. They've beaten Inter in the derby. It's the fact that you slip up in the small games that you say to yourself, with points in those matches, they would be fighting for a Scudetto. But yeah, maybe it is too high of a standard that we held them to.
Well, Marco, we always appreciate the analysis. Thank you so much. I'm assuming you're on coverage this weekend here in studio?
Of course. Yeah,
all right,
Sunday, 100%.
perfect.
Hey, you know the rules. Big games, big names.